Yeah, I've been following this debate about influencers overcharging, and it's really interesting. Fekomi says influencers should charge less so they can work with more brands and make more money. But A-list influencers like Boy and Bobby argue their prices are fair. And if you can't afford them, go to smaller influencers. So who's right? First, let's hear Bobby.
So when you go to Sydney Tucker for an advertisement or influencing, you already know that he has over 5 million followers. There is something you already see in Sydney Tucker that you know that he can give to you, that you want. Then if you meet Sydney Tucker and he tells you, okay, if you want my service, this is how much you have to pay. This is what I feel and what. I don't see a problem with that. So when you go to Sydney Tucker for an advertisement or influencing, you already know that he has over 5 million followers. There is something you already see in Sydney Tucker that you know that he can give to you, that you want. Then if you meet Sydney Tucker and he tells you, okay, if you want my service, this is how much you have to pay. This is what I feel and what. I don't see a problem with that.
Yeah, Bobby's position makes sense to me. But let's also hear how Fekomi responded.
Now, my brother Bobby, you see, the essence of the video that I've been making is to reawakening you guys to the gradual change that is taking place in your industry that you are not paying attention to. If you understand the principle of demand, supply, scarcity, and price in economics, it will shape the way you think. That is one. Two, you mentioned brands that sell clothing brands in your video. But do you know that there is a reason why brands have different category of products? Same brand, different product for different social stratification and different social class. They will have for middle class, they will have for lower class, they will have for upper class. For instance, if you look at Picnic has that big babasala, then they have mid one, then they have sachet one, so that everybody, would be able to purchase any piece of Picnic. They can still taste the luxury. It's still the same thing. That is what I'm trying to explain to you. The principle of numbers.
Now, Fekomi's thinking is based on a volume model, the kind of logic that works for mass businesses. In a mass business, right, like supermarkets or fast food, lower prices usually mean higher demand, and higher demand can mean more total revenue. That works when you can scale infinitely. But influencing is different. An influencer is not a product you can mass produce. You can't serve unlimited brands at once. Influence is not rice or toothpaste. It doesn't scale like that. Influencers are not really selling units. They're selling attention, trust, perception. And that changes everything. At a high level, pricing does three important things. First, it filters clients. Second, it creates scarcity. If you advertise everything, betting today, skincare tomorrow, crypto next, you start looking like a billboard. People stop paying attention. Third, it protects positioning. At a certain level, who you work with becomes your brand identity. That's why luxury brands like Rolex don't compete on low price. Exclusivity is part of the value. The same applies to influencers. If a top influencer starts doing everything for everyone, they slowly lose premium perception. So here's the real point. Fekomi's logic works for volume businesses, but influencing is not a volume business. It's a positioning business. But I'll also say this, where some influencers get it wrong is overestimating their value, their level. Not everyone should be pricing like an A-list creator. And where brands get it wrong also is thinking that every influencer should be affordable, right? Sometimes the value is not in access but in alignment, right? An influencer may not have as many followers, right, as an A-list influencer, right? But that influencer could give you even more value if approached and worked with strategically. And that's what counts.